Well, what's up and welcome to the Beyond Sundays podcast. I'm Brett Stewart. I'm the host, and my co-host, Sarah Turner,
hello,
is here, ready to go. She's got her Torchy's taco cup down there. I see it right now.
Yeah, there were some good tacos.
If this was on video and if the camera had my perspective, it is like perfect product placement right now for Torchy's taco. Mm-hmm. So I came from Fuzzies, so it's kind of like the nemesis, you know, like the enemy of Torchy's. Anyways, we're digressing. We're excited about our conversation today for a couple of reasons. One, because our guest is super awesome, but also because we literally had to throw some call an audible or two a couple hours ago, and this amazing person, in her complete willingness,
very willing.
She said yes to literally like an hour and a half's notice. So without further ado, our guest, Dacy Ivy. What's up, Dacy?
Oh, nothings, you know.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
I'm nervous, but it's okay.
It's okay. You're excited. It's all good. Honestly, about halfway into the conversation, or maybe like 5 or 10 minutes in, you forget that there's a microphone in your face.
Yeah.
And you just get
We're
the
just
joy.
talking.
Yeah. We're just talking into microphones for people to listen.
On the reg.
On the reg. Anyways, Dacy, tell us a little bit about who are you and what do you do here at Beltway? What's your role?
Sure. So my name's Dacy Ivy. I live here in Abilene. I have a housemate. My family doesn't live here, but I'm very involved with my church and with my friends. And here at Beltway, I'm the administrative assistant for Boots on the Ground Ministry. So sometimes I joke that I'm keyboard on the desk instead of boots on the ground.
Oh, good.
I like it. Okay.
That's
and
good.
someone has to be keyboard on the desk because let's be real. You know, those guys are good with their boots on the ground and not so great with computers and technology and calendars.
Sometimes it's a challenge.
Yeah. So what is Boots on the Ground? For those who don't know, or maybe those who need a little refresher, what is it?
Sure. So Boots on the Ground, it's a hands-on ministry. We serve primarily children, elderly, and the disabled with essential needs. And so to kind of give that some meat, we build a lot of wheelchair ramps. We put grab bars, the safety ones in the bathroom, you know, for exiting the shower. And we have a yards team. We have a Beds for Kids program. So we have a bunch of different campaigns, we call them, under the Boots on the Ground.
Yeah. So who are you doing this work for? How do you find them, or how do they find you? And yeah, because you mentioned wheelchair ramps and railing. I mean, that's a big part of what y'all do. There's definitely way more, and we'll get into that the ministry does. But yeah, who is it for, and how do you come about arranging it for these people to serve?
Sure. We get quite a few referrals, honestly. So we hear from a lot of healthcare workers, home health, and then a lot is also just word of mouth. You know, Boots on the Ground has been building.
They have been wielding powerful weapons.
Has been building ramps long enough now, you know, that people, it kind of just flies around.
People know about it.
Yeah, they just know about it.
It's almost that like someone hears like, oh, you need a wheelchair ramp? Boots on the Ground. And
right.
people are like, what is that? And they're like, I don't know. It's some people at Beltway that call themselves Boots, and they get on the ground.
That's pretty much it, yeah. So, you know, we have a form online, and so people go on and they can do that themselves. But, yeah, it's either through people have just heard about it, and it's been passed on by word of mouth, or, like I said, we do work with a lot of caseworkers, advocates, home health.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really referrals. Cool. That's really cool. And, you know, right now, Sarah, you've got a lot of experience in the construction world.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. So you're not unfamiliar with some of the stuff that it takes to build and update homes and add modifications, and especially for those that have either disabilities or like difficulties entering into their home. And I know that that's one thing, like some of the main stories that I've heard is, you know, someone who's not able to access their home, or the events where it's like, hey, grandma CPS is wanting to place the kids with grandma, but her house isn't up to code. It's not safe. There's some electrical work that needs to be done, or the fences need to be put up, or all the things that it takes for CPS to place kids within a home. And so I've heard those stories of our teams. It's not just men. It might have started out as men, but it's both men and women who are helping bring these homes up to safety, up to code, especially for situations like this. So, I mean, there's no like set parameter of what Boots on the Ground does, really, that I know of.
Sure. So, yeah, and it's been for sure, you might have heard the phrase like building the plane in the air. And that's kind of what they've done. It literally started, I think around 12 years ago. Don't quote me on that. But it was literally a group of guys coming back from boot camp, and they're called fire teams. They're small groups, and they're like, hey, let's like do something like for somebody.
Yeah.
And it literally started like that. And so they were doing, a variety of things. And as the ministry's grown, there has been, okay, let's kind of define what are we able to do? What is kind of our wheelhouse? And so it has gotten more fine-tuned as the years have gone on. But, yeah, I certainly, there's sometimes things that I'm like, I don't think we do that. And then I check, and sometimes we still do. Or there's someone that we know. But we are limited in some of the things like electrical or roofing or something, or plumbing that would require a licensure.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes those are more partnerships than necessarily Boots individuals showing up.
Yeah.
So how many years has this ministry been around?
I think it's 12, but I don't know I can't remember the official number, like where it came under Beltway, and they, and Jeff Smith became the pastor.
I mean, it was, fuzzy. That's what we call Jeff Smith, because there's a handful of Jeff Smiths around this place.
Yes,
so Fuzzy lets us know which Jeff Smith we're talking about. But I remember him coming on to staff the year, I don't know, it was probably somewhere around like 2016 or 17, maybe 2017, that he came on staff as the pastor over Boots on the Ground. And so at that point, it kind of moved from this large group under, say, like men's ministry, and it kind of launched into its own full ministry. And then Dacy, you've been on staff now with Boots on the Ground. How long? Did you already say that?
I'll be coming on 4 years in August.
So you've literally been part of this process of taking it from just a group of people willing to serve to kind of helping transform it into a ministry with structure and identifying and finding people. But what I love about it is that it started just with a few people that had a desire to serve. We started a new series at the church called Like a Good Neighbor. And so if you didn't catch this past Sunday's message, go to YouTube, find Beltway Park Church, hit subscribe, and then find the playlist Like a Good Neighbor. But it is just that. We're talking about, what does it mean to be a neighbor? What does it look like to love and serve other people? What does it look like to bless others? We at Beltway have this thing called the BLESS strategy. It's an acronym that means begin with prayer, listen with care, eat together, serve with love, share your story. And so this idea of being in this place of beginning with prayer and being willing and open for the Lord to do something, and then listening to people that are around you that have needs or that have concerns, and then, an opportunity to eat with them, gather with them, share a cup of coffee or share a meal with them to truly get to hear them even more. Find ways to serve them, and then in serving them, share your story, your testimony of Jesus with them. And so what I love about this, and I'm drawing it back, is it began with people just with a willing heart and an open heart to identify an area of need. Sarah
in our community, for sure.
Yeah, Sarah and I as we were talking about this sermon series and kind of what it looks like to be a neighbor, it really does come down to an openness and a willingness to know people and then to serve them.
Yeah.
Like, we have to start with knowing people. And what you heard from the Sunday sermon, if you listen to it, if not, go back and listen to it. But it starts with knowing people's names, like identifying who they are, and then learning what their needs are, but also just learning what's going on in their life. How do you pray for them? How do you know them? How do you be a neighbor. And so, I don't know. Let's go off. This is kind of on topic, but off topic. Okay. From your own neighborhoods that you live in currently, what can you tell me about what your neighbors do? Is it a neighborhood where there's people outside all the time and they're interacting with one another? Or is it one of those like pull into the garage door goes down, like the only time you see your neighbors is when they're leaving for work or coming home from work?
Well, I'll go first. Yeah. We just moved, but in our so we have a new neighborhood that we're getting to know. Which takes time.
It does.
But in our old neighborhood, we lived there for about 4 years, and it was on the north side of town. We love this sweet neighborhood, and we had wonderful neighbors. They were very engaging. We had a neighborhood group chat. People were constantly checking in with one another. Of course, this is when we had the ice storm was during that time. When we had COVID was during that time when we lived there. And so to see our neighbors literally check in with one another on the daily and see, these are our prayer requests. These are the things that we've got going on in the neighborhood. Our neighborhood would flood at times, and you couldn't get out of our neighborhood. And so there would be a group of us trying to figure out, okay, I've got to go to work today. How are we going to get out? And there was a sweet couple who lived in the land behind our neighborhood, and they would open up their driveway, their huge driveway, and let us exit out their property that way so that we can leave our neighborhoods and go to work. But one of the things that I was remembering just recently as we've been talking about be a good neighbor is I had a neighbor lived across the street from us, and it would not be very uncommon for her to just go get my garbage can for me and roll it up.
Yeah.
And I mean, she could be my mom, but it's just the sweetest woman. She was like, and I would come home and my garbage can is where it's supposed to be. And I'm like, I asked my husband, did you do that? And he's like, no, I think it was the neighbor. Just kind things like that. She just looked for ways and opportunities to bless my family. She knew we were a busy family and had a lot going on. And that was one of her ways. She'd also come and bring bread. Just pick us some bread and bring it by. And that
bread.
Make a little note. One time we got sick with something. I think it was, I don't know, maybe the flu or maybe it was COVID. I don't remember. And she came and brought a gift basket for each of the girls to keep them, busy. And
so
it's
sweet.
just so simple.
Yeah.
So very simple. But just really easy ways of being a helper in the neighborhood and just paying attention to the needs and the seasons that families might be in or individuals might be in. And I just think that is super, super sweet.
Yeah, I know. Well, first of all, if our dumpster is rolled up to the house, I know it wasn't my wife, not because she's not willing to do it, but we have very assigned tasks.
Yes.
Trash is your stuff, dishes is your stuff, outside. We know the
Defined
things.
roles.
And so it is funny, something so simple that takes 12 seconds,
time.
10 seconds. When I pull up and I know when the trash was out because I rolled it out. And so it's I pull up and I notice oh, that was really sweet.
Yeah.
You thought of me.
Yeah.
Even if maybe you were just oh, his trash is still out on the street. Let me roll it up. Regardless, that simple act, it communicated you thought of me, you valued me, you saw me. It's those tiny little simple things. The neighbors across the street, they have this little girl, her name's Brooklyn, and from time to time, she will just pick a random flower out of their flower bed, and they'll just walk up to the different doors of the 3 or the 4 houses around us and just ring the doorbell and give us the flower. And she usually wears a really pretty red dress. I mean, she's 4 or 5 years old. It's so sweet. And so, yeah, I mean, but I haven't always been in neighborhoods that are like that. And our neighbors don't have a group chat. That's next level.
I was wow.
Yeah, that's super next level.
Yeah, it was very organized.
Yeah.
We would get updates on everyone's numbers and stuff and emails, addresses. And of course, that has to be someone that's very, organized and type A. But
I would love it if our neighbors had that. But, I've been in neighborhoods where it really was your driveway and your garage are the only thing. It's that's how I get in my house. And then once I'm in my house, I'm shut off. And so even this, knowing the people that are 20 feet, east or west or north or south of you is really rare. And so I've really enjoyed our neighborhood, but I'm sitting here, wanting to do more with our neighborhood and get to know the people. What about you, Dacy? What does it look like to be a neighbor in your area?
Sure. So I get a little convicted because I kind of want to like get home and run inside, and be like,
and don't we all?
Yeah. I don't have a garage, so that's probably a really beneficial thing because I can't really hide, even though I'm kinda like, I want to go home and hide. But I have some neighbors who the gentleman loves to water his yard, and he is so faithful. I mean, and we won't talk about how it makes my yard look, but it's fine because he's very faithful. And then his wife is always tending to the little community neighborhood cats. And
tending to, or
she feeds them, and she
feeds
sometimes
them.
She has to kind of hurt them a little bit.
So your house is next to the local cat meetup.
Yeah, I'm not upset about it.
That's funny.
I like cats.
Okay.
And my other neighbor, they're a little more probably like how I am, where they kind of just come and go. But no one has garages, so that's probably a really good benefit in that sense because you see them and you wave. My housemate, she is a lot better about. She's just very intentional. I mean, it's any time. Like last night, we were getting in from Walmart, and I'm tired. I just want to unload the car and go inside. And she stopped and talked to our neighbor who was watering his yard and talking about the weather. And it's like literally we'll have a conversation every time, even if it needs to be brief and short. And so I've been encouraged by that, and also bought cat food for the neighbor because she's shelling out her dough to take care of the neighborhood cats. And so we got to contribute to that fund. But that's something, when you were talking about the blessed strategy, that's something that I've honestly been praying for, is like praying for them, but then even in myself not I guess honestly it's like being afraid to engage in little conversations or be inconvenienced. It could kind of feel like it's a little bit out of my way or what I have on my mission. And so to do that and to see them more, they're actually available. It's like, am I making myself available?
Yeah. And I mean, that's a great line, a great point. It's just make yourself available. Like that's what it is. And often, like, as we already said, sometimes it means 10 seconds. Sometimes it means 10 minutes. Like, okay, 10 minutes. I have 10 minutes to sacrifice if I slow down and I put on a lens that's aware of people, that's seeking to love them and to serve them. We underestimate the power of simplicity, I think. In our minds, like, we overcomplicate every task. We overcomplicate, like, well, I know this is something that Jesus wants me to grow in, but, this, I'm not good at this. This will take time. Well, I'm going to try to do this huge neighborhood gathering, but it'll probably have to be 3 months from now. And so we plan these like big grandiose things when really it's just...
Maybe just go take a walk.
Go take a walk. Yeah.
Say your dog is cute or your cat is cute and just introduce yourself.
For real. Yeah. Just walk over there. And some of you are thinking, like, I've lived in the same house for 10 years and I have never talked to my neighbors. And so there's that awkward factor of they know that I'm the neighbor. I know that they're the neighbor, but we don't know each other. And it's been 10 years. Just address it. Like, you know what? I know it's been 10 years. And honestly, I'm sorry. It's kind of sad. I'm sorry, but I want to know who you are because you matter. And I'm so sorry I haven't gotten to know you. And you know what? First of all, if neither of y'all know each other's names, it's not just you, it's on them too.
That's right.
But maybe just create that open door and like laugh about it of, I can't believe it's been 10 years. And just, I don't know their name. Find out something. It's pretty simple. But even more than that, maybe the thought of walking up to someone's house and knocking on the door or ringing the doorbell terrifies you. Yeah,
it's a little intimidating.
If that's super intimidating, what Sarah said a minute ago of like, take a walk. And what's crazy is you don't even necessarily have to start with talking to your neighbors.
Just smile.
Just smile. Or even if they're not there, walk by and pray for them. Pray for their house, even if you don't know their name. Like, Lord, I just pray for my neighbors. I know that this is what they look like, and I know that this is a little bit of what their life looks like. And I just pray that you make yourself known to them. Like, just pray something simple. Lord, I pray for an opportunity that's not awkward and that's easy, that I can meet them. And the Lord's going to be faithful to doing that.
It's good.
You know, there's this really cool app that I think everyone should download. It's called Bless Every Home. And I'll put a link in the show notes description so that you can find it. But literally, you go onto this app, you put in your address, and some of you might think it's kind of like creepy. It's not, because this is just public records. But it literally will pull up the people's names that live on your street and their addresses, and it'll show you like some of the neighboring streets to you also. It's literally just using public, like, county records that show this. So it's not like wizardry or witchcraft or something illegal. It's totally legal. But like, I can look right now and I can see the people all on our street. I can see their names, and I can hit a map, and I can see how it's laid out, and there's a place where you can make notes. You can say a prayer for them. If you click on the daily prayer, it gives you a scripture verse. Like today is 1 Thessalonians 5:15. It gives you a scripture verse that's a prayer that you can pray over your neighbors, even if you've never had a conversation with them. And so, I don't know. I think us just starting to be aware and think about God has uniquely positioned us where we are.
In our neighborhoods, yeah.
Yes.
Like,
in our community.
Yeah, all around us. And it's, sometimes we think we have to, go to the nations, or we have to be part of this ministry, or we have to do this, we have to do this. Often it's just starting where you are, like where the Lord already has you. And so, Dacy, what has it looked like, let's talk both boots on the ground and your personal life. Like, what has it looked like to be a good neighbor? Like, through what you've been able to witness on the ground, or through maybe the phone conversations that you have with people that have needs. I mean, when you think of what it means to be a neighbor or a good neighbor, what is it? What does it look like? And what are some of the things that you've seen and that you've witnessed because of it?
Sure. So one thing I guess that comes to my mind in being a neighbor is seeing, actually seeing them, hearing them, and if possible, responding. Or I guess there normally is, but just depends what that response is. Sometimes that's praying for them, but sometimes it is meeting a tangible need or something like that. You mentioned the phone conversations I have. It kind of amazes me, and maybe it shouldn't, but how many people that I'll actually be calling to tell them, like, no, that's not a service we provide, or, we're not able to do that. Like, I'm kind of gearing up. I have to call and tell them this no. And they're like, man, thank you so much for calling me back. And it's like they someone got back to them, or that we visited for a minute. We laughed about getting confused what day of the week it was, which is pretty normal occurrence. Yeah. And so I don't know, the Lord's really shown me that, of how just receptive people are for getting just the call back. And so,
and simple kindness.
Yeah. And like Brett, you were mentioning, simplicity. And I just think like the simplest of acts are just almost just so profound, or even just the biggest blessing. And so I see that a lot, that people are honestly, a lot of them, they're just looking for someone to talk to. You know, a lot of the folks that I speak with, they live alone, and they may not have much family or friends, or, the age that they're at, their friends are passing away, and the circles of people that they know is really shrinking. And so as far as, when Boots gets an opportunity to respond and actually see those people in person, or even if we send one of our leaders to do, like, say, a ramp assessment, we don't know yet if we're going to be able to build it or all that, but go assess it. He may be able to visit with them for 45 minutes to an hour, and he learns about their life and what they did, and often gets to pray with them. And sometimes just that visit it's such a blessing to people, even if that tangible act doesn't come to fruition for whatever reason. Yeah. I mean, they may move and end up not needing one or whatever, but I just see people, and especially the ones that we are fortunate to work with, just how much they even appreciate being seen and being heard, and just that response of
And I think
of
it also,
communication.
for people to see other people desiring to help others, whether they can or cannot, the desire there is to help and to love and to bless and to serve. And that generates hope.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Every single time, you know, and it's such in a world where it's craving hope. Our world craves it.
Sure.
If we can be in any way, shape, or form carriers of hope, and then be able to have that open door because you were there trying to meet a basic need. And then that basic need, sometimes, hopefully, as many as, you know, you ring a doorbell, get an opportunity to also provide levels of hope and love and prayer and connection to people feeling seen and loved and known.
Yeah. Something that is core to every human is the desire to be seen, known, heard, and loved. I mean, it's within all of us. Like that need and that desire will never go away. And it's just being aware that you're not the only one who wants it or feels it, but like other people need that too. And so, you know, if it's as simple as the barista at the coffee shop that you see every day, you know, instead of just like, hey, thanks, and like running out, just stop a little and like, how's your morning going? Are you having a good week? I really appreciate you always doing this. You know my order, you know my name. And you could even, you know my order, you know my name, and I'm so sorry, I don't know yours. What's yours? Just that, like, stopping to acknowledge, I see you.
You're a person.
You're a person. You matter. I know you. And I don't know, we underestimate that. But y'all were talking, about how meeting a need creates an open door and an opportunity for Jesus to do something deeper. I mean, I look at the Gospels, and often what Jesus did first initiated as someone who had a need. They needed something done. They needed healing. They needed help. They needed hope. They needed encouragement. They needed strength. They needed something. And Jesus was faithful to give it, but then in the midst of the giving it, he spoke to their soul. He spoke to who they were deep within, and he called them to a place of truth. And so, like, when we identify a physical need, don't be surprised when the Lord gives you understanding for a spiritual need in that person's life.
Absolutely.
It's not just helping them to help them for helping's sake, although that's nice. That is good. It is loving. But also, Jesus is always wanting to do more. God is always wanting to do more within the hearts of people. And so, I don't know. Again, we underestimate that. Whether it's a physical need, whether it's a financial need, whether it's an emotional need, I guarantee you, if you make yourself available to try to meet just one need of one person, you're going to find that there's a deeper opportunity to what Sarah said, like, be a carrier of hope and speak that hope to someone else. So, Dacy, are there any ministry moments that you have seen or know of from Boots on the Ground that have happened, from a physical need being met? Any stories, testimonies that come to mind about lives or families changed?
Sure. So I kind of have a couple that come to mind, and I will say I do love when they make their way back to me. I'm in the office, and I don't often even get to meet people. I hear them on the phone, and so it's really fun when the stories make their way back.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that guy. One of the ministries or the programs that we have is Beds for Kids, and we partner with the caseworkers and advocates from some different organizations and agencies and get connected to these families that otherwise we would never know about. But within that Beds for Kids program, one of the things that we do before the beds are delivered is they get scripture or encouragement written on them, and they're prayed over. And Pastor Jeff's pretty adamant about they don't leave until that happens.
Yeah.
And so anyway, our warehouse guy would have loaded one of these beds up, and we have some some families that helped deliver these beds for us, and they were delivering a bed to a family, and I don't even know if they'd gotten it off the trailer yet, but they went in there and were visiting with this mom and asking her, well, hey, is there anything you'd like prayer for? And she said, protection. That was just kind of the word that she really wanted that for her and her family. And so they circled up and prayed protection and whatever else, and went and set the bed up, and the verses that were on there were about protection. And that's
so cool.
That is God, because that's not,
right.
I'm not on the phone going, what can we secretly put on all the beds and then make sure we get the right bed, put on the right trailer for the right day.
That's right.
It's like the Lord saw
all those
her.
details.
Yeah. And so that was pretty, from what I understand, pretty impactful for her, that her prayer request right there was protection, and the Lord had already made a way.
And you just said the Lord saw her. So not only are people seeing her to love her, to help her, but like this deeper awareness that we underestimate if we've experienced it multiple times, but that first experience, or those other experiences of where we realize, oh my gosh, God sees me, like He's for me, He knows me, He wants me, like those are things that it's like like you said, you can't plan that, you can't craft that, you can't manipulate that. The only way that kind of stuff happens is a willingness. It's an openness and a willingness to serve, and then let God sort out the details. He's already in them, like what Sarah just said. God's in all those details. Let Him do it. Just make yourself available to love and to serve. It's so simple.
Yeah, it is so simple. He's there before and He's there after, the whole way for each and every person. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it was such a moment for that person even who wrote those scriptures on that bed to have heard that story and went, oh my goodness, the Lord used.
Right. Well, and them to be like, I heard the Lord. Like I prayed about what should I prayed about what verses should I write. Yeah, it's confirmation. And that encourages them to do it more and more. Like God's in it on all sides.
Correct.
And it's really exciting to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's super exciting.
And He's so cool like that. And He wants to do that with every single one of us. Like He wants us to be a part of those pieces where He gets to, I think we mentioned this in the last podcast, like show up and show off the only way that He can,
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because He loves His people.
He does. So Sarah, you mentioned you're a new neighbor in a neighborhood trying to get to know the neighborhood.
That's right.
Maybe some other people find themselves in that place. What's something that you and your family and your sweet girls can do to get to know people?
That's a great question. And actually it's been on my mind because we moved in the middle of winter, so that was kind of complicated because it's so cold. For sure. But just to be outside is one of the first strategies we really felt like the Lord gave us was to go on walks. We live in a neighborhood where people walk. They walk their dogs. They go on walks with their kids. The kids ride their bikes. There's golf carts and people in golf carts. So, it's just being available for an afternoon or an evening walk after, dinner or something, and then just smiling. Yeah. And if a dog runs up to us, we pet the dog, and what's the dog's name, and just start trying to engage in conversation that way. But actually, another idea that I'm really wanting to test here pretty soon came from a book that I read this spring called Find Your People by Jenny Allen. I highly recommend it. But it's all about community living and how proximity really matters and how we do life with people and how to truly be a good friend and friendly to all of the people that, you come in contact with. And one of the pieces that she's been testing in her own neighborhood, because they moved to a new city, is they started, instead of having family time or, time drinking coffee or in the backyard, they moved their time to the front yard. So they will go get their lawn chairs from the backyard and set them out in the front yard or their fire pit or their chimenea or whatever. And they will just have their, evening tea or conversations on the front porch instead of the back porch. Yeah. And that positions you to be available when you see your neighbor come home from work or get the mail after dinner.
And it creates the invitation.
Right. And simple, good. Again, just, hey, how y'all doing? We haven't met you yet. We're, Jeffrey and Sarah Turner. We're so happy to be your neighbor and introduce your kids and just,
hey, come over. You want
come
this?
Over.
Yeah, And it's less intimidating because it's not like, come into our home.
Right. It's all on the front yard. It's all in the front yard. It's all good.
Right? I mean, but can we be real honest? Like, that's to ask it or to be asked. Like, hey, do you want to come into our home? It's like, not yet. Like, but like front yard, totally disarming.
Yeah.
One, it's not like there's no fences. There's no like. It's open and it feels like okay, I can do this.
Right.
But then as relationships develop, as conversations develop, maybe it takes a whole semester of front yard engagement. Yeah. But then it turns into, hey, would y'all want to have like a dinner with us sometime? Like, let's have a meal. It could be in the backyard. Like it could be.
And it creates opportunities also to help. Like when they go out of town and they do think of you hey, would y'all mind grabbing our mail? That would really bless us. Of course, we'll grab your mail
since your
for you.
eyes are already on the street, like the houses around you. And now you seem safe because it's like, hey, y'all are looking, y'all are watching, you're seeking to know. Yeah, that's a great idea. I have a lot of work to do in my front yard if that's the case. My backyard is great for gathering. My front yard,
not so much.
But that's something during COVID that I actually really liked. Like literally our neighbors would just get lawn chairs or folding chairs, whatever, and either in the grass or in the driveway, because our driveways are in front of our house, we would just sit out there and we would talk to one another from across the street. And or we would kind of like clump up together, but still spaced out. And it was odd, but refreshing because it was like, this isn't the norm and this isn't the pace of life, but there's something.
It used to be.
And that kind of like nostalgia, like this is how it used to be. Oh, is this what it felt like? And it was really refreshing.
Yeah, it used to be where we felt like our doors were always open.
Right.
And you could drop by at any point and no one would think anything of it, I mean, one of the other ways that I'm being challenged right now by the Lord is when I need something to make something for dinner, rather than call my husband and tell him to go to the grocery store and go get it, like ask my neighbor for it.
Yeah.
Even just the neighbors I've already met, you know what I mean? So that I give them an opportunity to meet a need for me. And then they then feel like, well, I've done this for her. Maybe I can ask her and ask that family for something if I need something in return. I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to test it.
I'm going to just go out there and say, I have no shame asking a neighbor, like, hey, y'all got any butter, any sugar? We're out. Or we don't regularly use this, but for whatever reason, we chose to make this.
I haven't done that yet. I need to.
do not have that. And it's like, whatever y'all need, let me know. But it's not butter because I need it from you. So I like that. That's really cool. But yeah, there's something about it of we were meant to be connected. We were meant to be communal.
That's right.
People. And there's other cultures, there's other countries that do an amazing job at that. And I would say that that's probably one of our struggles. And I'm not going to do a blanket statement across America, but for a lot of regions across America, I think that's one of our biggest struggles of relearning how to be communal people rather than separated individual, isolated people going
or Amazon priming everything or
right.
Sure.
I even all of these ideas are literally coming from that book. So Jenny Allen gets all the credit.
Nice. Find Your People by Jenny Allen. I'll put that link in the show notes as well.
But one of her other really culture shifting moments that I took to heart was inviting someone to go with you to run an errand or to go do your simple things like grocery shopping, or you need to run to Target. Call up someone that you're getting to know or is a friend or you're trying to be a good neighbor to and say, hey, do you need anything? Or do you want to go with me? Or, just providing, again, being available and providing the opportunity. They can say no,
right?
But to be available and to be around so people can know she's really a helper. Like if I need something, I can probably ask her, even if it's something deeper like a prayer request or something beyond even just a prayer request, but something way deep,
right?
Much more deeper than even that. So I think it's, I wrote this down because I love this. It's from Mr. Rogers. Everybody remember Mr. Rogers' neighborhood?
Mr. Rogers.
Yes. He said once that love isn't a state of perfect caring. it is an active noun like the word struggle. To love someone is to strive to accept every single person exactly the way he or she is right here, right now. And I thought that was so beautiful and something that was really highlighted to me in the sermon yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, a couple days ago on Sunday.
A couple days ago on Sunday was that just to choose to love the people right in front of you, no matter what type of person, where they come from, their race, ethnicity, gender, background,
socioeconomic
status, no matter what side of the political aisle they fall on, it does not matter.
Yeah.
But to see a person as a person.
Yeah.
And to just remember that love it's a choice, it's a process, and can be a struggle at times.
Yeah.
But just to give ourselves the grace to remember that it's a process, you know, not only to be a good neighbor, but also, you know, to love others the way Jesus has asked us to.
Yeah. Dacy, what's something you can do in the next coming weeks to step out and being a neighbor? And that doesn't necessarily mean to your physical people who live next door to you, although it does. But like in the sermon that we heard, neighbor can also mean the people that you're in proximity to on a daily basis. Because believe it or not, you know, whether it's the people you work with or go to the gym with or in this group or this activity with, like you're spending a significant amount of time with them, possibly more time with them than your own family. So with that kind of definition of a neighbor, what are some things that either you want to grow in or step out in or that you can do?
Well, one thing that's at least come into my mind right now is not thinking about myself in every conversation that I might have, but remembering, okay, what did she say appointment she had yesterday? I think she said she had something yesterday. And like remembering today to follow up with that. Hey, how did that appointment go? You know, whatever it is. I'm thinking of like coworkers or people that you see regularly. But to like stop thinking about whatever's on my mind or whatever I'm concerned with and you know, see them and think, oh, wait, they had something significant coming up, or maybe they didn't. You know, we talked 3 weeks ago about this, you know, has the Lord put anything else on your heart about that? But just, that sounds so simple, but that's where I feel like he's kind of showing me right now the first things.
That's great. And that's super challenging to me because I too, when listening, I'm also generating what else I'm going to say and talk about and ask about. And sometimes I'm like, what are these questions I can ask so I can get to know this person? And then as they're answering those questions, I'm thinking about the next questions. And so I'm not actually learning them. What it's like to be me. But for real, to just take note of and listen and to recall. And even, again, let's talk with our physical neighbors, like in our neighborhood. You know, the small, simple steps of saying hi, bringing something over, hang out in the front yard. As you do these, it creates opportunities for you to hear what's going on in their life. You're aware of it. You know how to pray for them, you know, privately. And then as you develop a relationship of trust with them, you can step out there and be like, hey, I'd really love to pray with you. Or, hey, do you want to come to church with me and my family? Like, we'll save seats for you. Or we can drive together if you want. Like, you can make the steps to that, what seems like that big ask, you know, once that you're an established, trusted, loving person that's for them. But it all just starts with knowing who it is and just making yourself available and just listening. So this is a really good conversation. We could go on about this forever. But Dacy, thank you so much for jumping on.
Dacy, you're awesome.
So awesome. And all those resources we talked about, the Bless Every Home app, the Find Your People by Jenny Allen, the Bless strategy that we have here at Beltway, I'm going to put all of that in the show notes. And we encourage you to go to beltway.org/bless. And you can find that. And you can also go to beltway.org/we-love-our-city. And even if you don't live in Abilene, Texas, where we're from, it is a list of ideas of ways that you can serve your your community, your city, your neighbors. And if anything, it helps generate thoughts. You don't have to do verbatim what's on that list, but allow it to just generate some ideas or thoughts of, you know what, I'm going to make myself available to love and to serve people and to trust God with the details of it. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We hope you have a great week. Be blessed. And remember, God is moving in your life beyond Sundays.